Hi everyone, thanks for checking out another InfoSec Hub video. Today we're going to talk again about a SIEM, but this time I'm using this figure, which is also quite straightforward. You heard people in InfoSec talking about a SOC SIEM solution. SOC is here, located there, giving alerts, the Security Operations Center, but it's actually part of the SIEM, or at least the SOC interacts with the SIEM. SIEM standing for Security Incident and Event Management. So we start over here at the corporate network, and this can either be on-premise within the company that you physically work, so you have servers, physical servers in your workplace, or maybe you work cloud-based and have your own applications running. It really depends on the business. But in general, you will have a network switch at the office. You will have laptops or workstations in use. You might have a local server. You might have a server in the cloud. But basically, and this is an intrusion detection system and a firewall, and these are security incident and event-based systems. Firewalls really detect if your network is under attack or if there are certain malicious connections open from the internet to your workstation or your laptop, and you want to be notified of that. In short, all these systems or endpoints, they have logging, and you want to all send that to an aggregation database. So you want to send it to one particular location which you can query then to see what you're actually looking for, and that's the identity and sorting and tagging of this, because these alerts need to be, you have a lot of false positives, and with this you can tweak firewalls, you can tweak IDSs. For instance, you want to only be alerted when something goes wrong and the rule sets that are applied in the firewall IDSs are triggered in a certain way. This aggregated database, as you can see, it's just a database. Of course, it's a software solution, but the database is behind it. You can run compliance reports, so you can see, for instance, is there an increase of attacks during the day, during the night, at a certain event. You can specifically see if it's going, if attacks are going up indeed, attempts to break into systems. But you can also check if the compliance policies that you set for your firewall or IDS are, if they're sufficient or they need to be tweaked. You can also do threat hunting because it's all aggregated here. You can do queries on if certain threats that are existing in the world also affect your network, and if there already have been attempts to let's say you have a server, you have a software running on that, and they have a common vulnerability database, and you can see based on that intelligence if your server was tried to be hacked or is potentially vulnerable. Then this is the whole SIEM solution, so aggregated database based on all the loggings. Here you tweak what is necessary from this vast database of logs. You can imagine how much information this contains. And there are also, for the people that work cloud-based, maybe they have a laptop or a workstation with a Microsoft account. You might have Microsoft Defender running. You might have antivirus running. So the logging from the virus scanner, malware protection, all of that will also send its information directly to this database over the internet or from the Microsoft Defender platform, and you connect it to a SIEM. So there are multiple ways to do that. You can also make sure that the logging is directly sent to the database or to the SIEM solution, either locally or over the internet. It doesn't really matter. The thing is, aggregated logging, aggregation database, all this information comes in, and from this vast amount of data you want to be able to see what's going on, and you want to see if your network is potentially under attack. Also, when a laptop, for instance, is compromised, it logs in from Germany 1 second and 2 seconds later from Mexico. That's physically not possible, so that should trigger an alert. And this alert can then be automated to see, okay, if this persists or if this action happens one time, we're going to suspend the account just to make sure. And then they need to call tech support and they will check in. So you can put all these rule sets in there, compliance, whatever you want, but you want to have full control over your endpoints, over your servers, over your firewall, and see what's going on. So the SIEM is really the eyes and ears, and the SOC, the Security Operations Center, interacts with the SIEM. So they can see the alerts and they can either do manual labor or they can tweak adjustments. What I just said about an endpoint logging in from Germany, from Mexico, we can set a rule set to say, okay, if this happens, which is not possible because all our employees work from Germany and they're not allowed to bring their device outside of Europe even, we detect their and VPN usage is disabled, just giving you the case scenario, and they still log in from outside the European Union, for instance, then we immediately suspend this account. Not block it, suspend it, and have it under investigation. And only release it to make sure that nothing crazy happened. Also on the endpoint, of course, you can set rules like you're not able to download software, you're not able to connect to various websites. That's all within your compliance policies. And then you want compliance reports to see how effective those policies are. Hope that makes sense. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.